Well, hello everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to Lisa Horton Crafts. I'm Sheryl Abernathy, and I will be sharing an easy and elegant card that I've made with Lisa Horton products. Welcome everybody. Let's see, let me double check, make sure people can see me and hear me. If you can hear me okay, just let me know that, please. But hi, I'm seeing people are in. Hi, Megan and Jean, Karen, Nina, Rebecca, Valerie. Hi to everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's see. These are the products that I'm going to be using for today's project. For my sentiments, I'm using the sentiment strips Happy Vibes, and the strip I'm using is Have a Wonderful Day. So that's one of the products. Another is the Nested Stitch Bubble Ovals. And the star of the show today is the Floribunda Vase and the coordinating stencils for that. And then it's going to be accented with this beautiful Decorative Pearls embossing folder. So those are the core products I'm using. And the inks, we have Garden Sage, Painted Eggshell, Straw Hat, and Loganberry. So we will go ahead and get started. I will show you the project that I made. Here's the card, and you can see how all of these products come together to make this card. So I'm going to move that off to the side, and we'll get started with some stenciling. So I'm going to bring in my tacky mat, and I'll start with a piece of cardstock. This is about, I think it's A2 size, 4.25 by 5.5, but it doesn't really matter as long as you have room enough to put the entire stencil on your piece of cardstock. So for today's card, there are 6 stencils in this card, and we're not going to use stencil number 1. And the reason for that, when you use this first stencil, it will be the lines that show up here on your design. And since I don't want color there, I'm not going to use stencil number 1. So we're going to take that one away, and we're going to bring in stencil number 2. Let's see here. And I want to make sure I have this down far enough on the card, so I'm going to use this kind of as my guide. This is stencil number 3, and it is pretty close to the top, so I know that if I've got some room up here and room down here, everything is going to be fine. So I'll use that just to put my piece of cardstock down. Once it's on my tacky mat, it's not going anywhere. So I'll go back and pick up stencil number 2 now that I have things lined up the way that I think I need them. And I'm going to use a little bit of tape here, not because my paper's not going anywhere, but I don't want that stencil moving. So I'm going to use just a teeny bit of tape just to make sure my stencil doesn't move around on me, because my paper is bigger than my stencil. So I have a teeny little ridge there and it can grab, but we're just going to have a little extra insurance. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is I want to color these 4 flowers, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And that's another reason why I'm starting with stencil number 2, because I can actually see where the flowers are and I can color them the way that I want to. So we're going to start with Straw Hat ink. Put that there. And we'll go ahead and color these 4 flowers. And just nice light little color there. And if you get over into the bigger flowers, that's okay. I just want a nice coloring of these 4 flowers here. And oh, Teresa from Derbyshire, hello, how are you? Valerie, hi, Tisha, mom. As most of you know, my mom's in the hospital and she's actually able to tune in today. So that's a treat for me for sure. Okay, so that's all we're going to do with the straw hat, just a little bit. And I'm going to wipe off some of the ink off of the stencil because I don't want my colors blending in together. And then I'm going to come in with Loganberry. And for this flower, I want the color a little deeper in the center of the flower. So I'm going to start there and then work my way out. And I'll just keep doing that till I get it about how I think I want it. One of the nice things about using stencils, if you start out light, you can always add more color. And so it gives you a few more options. And that I'll put a little bit darker there. And just color that all in. And a little bit more color there. And can you see that okay? Yeah. I think you can kind of see. This is a time when I wish I had teeny hands. My hands cover up a lot of what I'm doing. But, okay, so that's pretty much it for the first stencil. Hi, Donna. Yeah, actually, Mom is doing a whole lot better. And thank you so much for your thoughts and prayers and well wishes. Okay, so that's stencil number 2 down, and we'll move on to stencil number 3. We don't have a lot to do on this stencil because I'm leaving the pot white. So if you wanted to color your pot, you could, but I'm leaving it white. And so we're just going to put some color in the center of these 4 flowers, and I'm using Loganberry for the centers. I did straw hat for the flowers, and I'm using Loganberry for these flower centers. And I want them a nice, solid, deep color of Loganberry in those flower centers. And that's all we have to do with this stencil. Nice and easy. That's what I love Lisa stencils because they make it so easy. Now we're going to, with stencil number 4, we're going to start with our leaves. I'm going to use my little piece of tape again here. And so we'll move the straw hat out of the way for now and the Loganberry. And we'll bring in the leaves. I'm going to start with the garden sage. I'm using garden sage for the eucalyptus flowers, and then all the other flowers are going to be painted eggshell. So we'll do the garden sage first because there's less to do. And I want this, again, I want that nice deep green, since I'm not using eucalyptus leaves, the ink color eucalyptus leaves. I'm using garden sage, so I want it to get nice and deep there. And then remember too, as you're doing yours, they will these colors will lighten over time. So we've got some eucalyptus here and a little bit of eucalyptus over here. So, it's okay to make it a teeny bit darker than you think you might want it, just because those colors will lighten up over time. Okay, so, that's it for the garden sage. I was going to take that away. We're not done. We got to do the painted eggshell. Teresa, I'm with you. These stencils are the best. Ever since I found them, I've been hooked. So we're going in with painted eggshell now, and we're going to do all the rest of the leaves in painted eggshell. And if you want to vary the color some, you can do that. I did it a little deeper at the base because I don't want to get ink from my cover. That's funny. But and then just let that color move out to the edges. So it's a little deeper at the center and a little lighter at the tips. And we'll do that for all the leaves that aren't eucalyptus. We'll go around the stencil till we get them all done. Okay, there we go. So those are the first stencil of leaves. Take a little peek and see what it looks like. I think we like that. So then we will move on. Hi, Beverly, how are you? Okay, and then we're going to add more eucalyptus, as you see here. And then we've got a little bit of regular leaves too. So I've got painted eggshell on my tacky mat here. So we'll go ahead and do those leaves first. And again, we're starting those out and lighter at the tips. And I probably could use a smaller brush for these. And I want to make sure this one is painted eggshell and the rest over there are eucalyptus leaves. So here we go with this last little leaf over here. And I think that's it for the painted eggshell. Yes, everything else eucalyptus. So we'll swap that out and bring in our garden sage. And finish up the rest of these leaves. Really easy. And I love it because when you get done stenciling with Lisa Stencils, it really looks like you know how to color. And she does all the work for you. So if you're like me and don't know really how to color, you can follow these stencils and your work will come out beautifully every single time. I'm telling you, I love it. And so we're finishing up with the eucalyptus leaves here, and that'll be the end of the leaves. Okay. And then we'll come in and put the detail using stencil number 6. Oh, look at how pretty. I love these colors together. And then stencil number 6, and again, I'm using we're going to put some detail on these 4 center flowers. So I'll just use another color of another layer of straw hat to do that. And then we've got some stems for the eucalyptus. So since I have the garden sage out, you could go with a brown color for your stems, but I just went with eucalyptus again. That same color I used for the eucalyptus, that deep garden sage. Let's see, and I have to be careful here. I got a smaller brush because I don't want to, these are really close, so I don't want to get any of this garden sage on my straw hat flower. So I'm being a little cautious here and using a smaller brush. And then I'll wipe this sage away so that I can bring in the straw hat and to worry about any of that excess ink that's on the stencil transfer. Okay, so we're done with that. And then the last little bit we have to do is bring back in our straw hat. And get a nice little smattering of straw hat on these flowers just to accent them a little. And the thought that goes into the design, because when you emboss these, everything just turns out perfectly. It's just beautiful. So that's it for the stenciling. So those are the stencils that we use. There's 6 stencils. We use stencils 2 through 6 for this one. And here's our final reveal. So I like that. I think it looks pretty good. Oops. See, you can see where I kept wiping at that green, so I got a little bit of color mix in there, but that's okay. It's still pretty. Okay, so the next thing I want to do then is die cut this, because I'm going to emboss it, but I want to die cut it first. And since I don't have the pot colored, I'm really just using the top of the dies to line things up the way they ought to be. And I'll end up with a pot when we're all done. Okay, so let me bring my tape back in. Yeah, it does, Teresa. It has a really nice pop after you emboss it. And we're going to do that next. So trying to make sure I have it lined up nice and neat. And I'm going to put tape down in a couple of spaces just because I don't want it to move when I die cut. And I think, oops, see, I moved it just that quickly. I thought I was pretty good, but I moved it just a smidge. And it doesn't matter. I'm just pretty fussy about my outlines. I want them to be nice and even all around, but if they're not perfect, that's okay. These are handmade with love. And whoever gets your creations are going to love them anyway. So I try not to worry too much, although I still do. Okay, so I'm going to let that be good enough. And I'm going to go ahead. I'll be off camera for a second while I run this through my die cut machine. And I'll be right back in camera in just 1 second. Okay. So we'll go ahead and peel this off, that tape off. You just want to be careful that you're not pulling up any of your ink or your paper. If you've got paper on your design, I try to keep it on the die, but sometimes a little bit of it will get on there. So, and then there we go. Okay, so there's our die cut piece. I'll move this out of the way. And then we'll our embossing folder that comes with this one. The newer sets that Lisa has, the die comes with the stencil, but in this one, the die comes with the embossing folder. So as you're looking to, I tell people just buy both the die and the stencil. You won't regret it. But if you only want one and you want to make sure you can die cut, pay attention. The newer products have the dies on with the stencil. So that's a little different with some of her newer release products. So just want to make you aware of that. So I'm just lining this up just a little bit to see that looks pretty good. And I think I'll call that good. I like to mist just a little bit with water before I run it through the embossing machine, just to keep those fibers intact and they don't crack. And I was able to keep that fairly straight. Okay, maybe it may be off just a teeny bit, but we're gonna let that that work for us today. And this one, I'm going to use the sandwich for my die cut machine to emboss. And I'm going to emboss this. I'll be right back. With my embossed piece. Okay. No, Teresa, we are not all perfect, and I'm far from it. So look, I don't know if you can see the detail in that, but look at all that detail. Isn't that gorgeous? Just lots of beautiful detail. So there is our cut and embossed piece, and I've gone ahead and done some work ahead of time, and I'll share what I've done ahead of time so you'll know. So I have an A2 card base here, and then I have an A2 panel. Now I created this. The first thing I did was using the, where are they? Using these nested stitched oval dies. I used these two dies, and I just die cut them, and this is what I got. Then I used tape on the back to keep this. I wanted to keep that stitched oval in place, and so I did that first. That was the first die cut I did, and then I took this piece. I moved this piece out, and then I took this piece and I ran it through the Decorative Pearls embossing folder. I just put it in like that, ran folder, and that gave me this piece. And then I added some foam tape to the back of it, and that's how we'll mount it so that we have some dimension on the card when we put it together. So that's the work that I did ahead of time. So now I did one other thing. I went ahead and stamped my sentiment using Lisa's black ink. And then I put some foam tape on the back so that I can mount this onto the card. So that's the work that I did ahead of time. And then the last thing that we'll need to do is add a little bit of color to this one. And I used Straw Hat, and I started with the ink that was already on my brush and tried to get as much. And as you can see, I don't have a lot of ink there. So I'm going to add some more ink to my brush. And then I'll just go all around this oval into the center. It doesn't need to be completely inked in, but you just want enough color that you can see it after you put it inside the frame. And I just went, let me get a piece of paper before I get ink all over this from my fingernails. And then I just went all the way around and into the center a little bit. Just nice light coating of color. And this, I mean, you can opt not to color this in at all. You could just have white on white. That's always pretty. And coming in here with more color all the way around. Trying to get it kind of even, but it doesn't have to be perfectly even either. It's just adding some extra color. Okay. And this side, the flower vase is going to cover a good part of this side of it, so you don't really have to have every single bit colored, but since I didn't line this up before I started inking it to make sure we know which side is which, I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around just to be safe. And I have a little bit more ink there. Yep. Pick up as much of this off my mat as I can. And it's really nice and easy. So we've got two. I've done one with Loganberry on the inside, my sample, and this one has Straw Hat on the inside. So you can see the differences are very slight, but you can see, and you could use any color that coordinates with these two to do this. Spray a little bit of alcohol on my mat here, clean this off. Okay, so now we've got this done. The next thing we have to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this onto the card, put my frame onto the card base. I'm going to pull all this release paper off and add this to my frame once I get it all off. And this foam tape, I haven't found a brand yet that isn't super sticky, so I try to be pretty cautious when I'm putting it down, because I found that once it's down, it is down. So, okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and let me try to make sure I got this exactly where I want it to go. Okay, press that down. And then I want to see where this fits. Yeah, okay. So I'll lift this out, and then I'll just put some glue on the back and then just push that down into the center. And you could do this first by just lining it up, but I like to do it after. Uh-oh, my glue is not cooperating. That's not gonna work. I like to do it after I put the frame down, just because I don't want it to be off. And if I don't put the frame exactly the way I do my dry fit, then it won't work. Well, it'll work, but it won't look the way you want it to look. So is this the way? I think this is the way I have it. Yeah. And just push that down in there. And use my little pokey tool for the opposite side. So it's got room to get down in there. There. And so we've got that all the way down in there. Then the last thing that we want to do is add our floral. So half of this is going to be inside and half of it is going to be glued. So I'm going to add a little bit of foam tape to the side that's going to be inside the oval. Cut some of that here with scissors. And let's see how this piece looks. Looks about right. And I don't want that on trim around because I don't want it hanging over, obviously. So that looks pretty good. And then we'll just use glue for the other parts that are going to touch the frame to hold it in place. And if you wanted for these smaller, I'm not going to do it now, but you could add a little bit of foam tape behind these pieces because they're going to be in the center. But that's depending upon how you're planning to give your card. If you're going to mail it, I would definitely put the foam behind it. But if you're just going to give it to someone in person, you wouldn't have to worry with that. And then we just put the glue in, and we've got this. You want to be sure to give yourself room for your sentiment at the bottom. So I kind of push that all the way up to the top. And give it a few minutes for the glue to adhere because you're adhering texture to texture. Okay. And then the last thing we'll need, well, next to the last thing is add our sentiment. And we'll just, oops, I want that just at the base of the flower. And that looks pretty good there. And then we'll add some pearls. Now this one's on my sample. I used the Fashion Bella pearls, but for this one, because I changed my color, I'm going to use just the plain white pearls. And because I don't have a pearl that's that straw hat color. And but if you had it, and you can probably color it with if you have let's see, what are we doing here? I want to put this one. Nah, that's too big. I want to use this size. A couple up here and a couple in the bottom. And let's see, I'll do a big one here and two smaller ones on either side of it. And we, I think, can call that done. Oh yes, I think that you're definitely going to want to have straw hat. All of her colors are beautiful, I'm telling you. And the newer ones, oh my goodness, they're beautiful. The holiday colors and the new limited edition inks, they are out and available here in the US and also, of course, at Lisa Horton's website, that craft place. And you are going to get them. Mine are supposed to be delivered today. And I'm so excited. So, oh, and I want to tell you, make sure that you watch Claire tomorrow. She's going to be live. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss it. So I thank you so much for your time. I hope you like my card and have a fantastic week. I will be back next Monday at this same time with another card to share. So have a fantastic week and we'll see you next time. Bye.